Mswatu inkosi ithula akayithathe akahambe nayo akayithathe yadenza bakewone akayithathe
Again, it is a beautiful Wednesday morning. We are coming live to you from our EBIS studios housed at EBIS here in Eswatini TV in Mbabane. We have a very interesting show for you yet again this Wednesday, the 25th of March. I believe this is the last Wednesday of the month, and indeed we always love to start the day by being grateful to the Lord Almighty for keeping us alive and for keeping us in good health. We start this morning with low temperatures here in the Highveld. They are expected to rise throughout the day, a little bit warmer than the past 2 days that we have experienced some rains in. As we wake up this morning, we hope that you are ready to enjoy as well as to be informed and a little bit entertained by some of the information and programs that we're going to give you within this program. Well, this morning we will begin with the youth enterprise as well as the question of youth access, the Capital Lead Expo 2026 that is positioning itself as a very necessary bridge between ambition as well as funding. It's going to bring you young entrepreneurs face to face with the networks that they need to position their businesses as well as the capital that they need to further fuel their businesses and to build bankable businesses. We're going to speak to the chairperson of the Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Mbabane chapter, Mzwandile Nxumalo, on what this platform really means in practical terms. And of course, we will shift to heritage and tourism. You will remember that we began our week by enjoying a very beautiful story coming out of Kabane, where His Majesty King Mswati III launched what they call the Kabane Cave Explorer Walk. This is a conversation that sits at some of the monuments that the Kingdom of Eswatini boasts. And certainly this morning we will look at that as we unpack the deeper story behind it, as well as its cultural significance, but not only that, how it's going to impact the community members around there, as well as the broader, Eswatini at large, the science of preserving it, and how the developments are going to shape the future of tourism in the Kingdom of Eswatini. We will speak with Temahlubi Nkambule. She's the Monuments Officer at the Eswatini NTC. A very good morning once again. Of course, we do have our local news in Siswati and English, and if time allows, we do peek a little bit into what is happening in the international front. But per usual, let's start our morning by looking at the leading headlines across our major newspapers. Let's begin with the Eswatini Observer, and we look at the front page of this Wednesday publication. Our top story there: illegal gambling crackdown 2 weeks later, still no Home Affairs arrests. Despite intensified operation that has resulted in the number of arrested foreign nationals rising to approximately 233, there is no breakthrough in suspects behind issuance of crucial national documents. Yep, locals employed in operation sites allege that they were treated like slaves. However, they lament sudden job losses. Another story: teachers, pupils brave flood waters at Ngwavuma. These are teachers and pupils in the Ngwavuma belt who faced a perilous journey home on Monday after torrential rains flooded roads and rivers, forcing many to wade through dangerous waters. with the help of community members. Another story speaks to senators who have said, stop mocking King on social media. And the last one says, Mkhulu's 30 years for raping 2 granddaughters. Gut-wrenching. We shift to the back end of the Eswatini Observer. And here, our sports headlines. The heartbeat of Wanderers stops. Wesleyans grieve as player dies. That is Wanderers captain Mlaba, who dies in his home following an undisclosed illness. Football fraternity mourns loss of this versatile midfielder. Rest in peace to Mlaba. Lubombo Marathon registration deadline has been extended. That is the 2026 Lubombo Marathon, which has been extended to the 2nd of April. The last story from the Observer speaks to Sidumo, who has been named the NFD February's best under Mula Sport. Pix Professionals' relentless march toward the top fight has been talisman in Sidumo Lamini, the veteran marksman whose clinical February form has earned him the Mula Sport Player of the Month award. Let's move along and look at the Eswatini Daily News. And here, our top story. His Majesty launches a reptile park at Hlane. That is King Mswati III, upon the unveiling of the Nsulutane Property Hotel in Hlane, also unveiled the reptile park, which is a newly completed facility that is opposite the hotel, which, according to His Majesty, is a significant move to balance wildlife preservation with human safety. The reptile park is designed as a premier educational place for those wishing to deepen their understanding of snakes and their dangers. Moving along, Eswatini tourism surges 16.3% in February, while Home Affairs calls urgent meeting on marriage reforms. Teachers getting ready for CBE, that is the curriculum-based education, and not the Central Bank of Eswatini. Some people still mistake the two. And then government floats 200 million Malangeni bond to boost market. Let's look at the sports news now. This is your Eswatini Daily News Sport segment. Top story, once again, the rest in peace to Mlamuli Mlaba Ngambule, born 1995, and has since passed away in 2026. Football in mourning as Manzini Wanderers captain Mlamuli Ngambule passes on Tuesday morning after battling an undisclosed illness. The last two stories. Swimming duo for Junior Sports Awards, and Jurgen Klopp dismisses Madrid links and is open to return. Those are top stories across your major newspapers. We'll go for an ad break now. We'll be back with our news in vernacular.
Those that are in pain must forget all the problems they have. Because the things of the earth have got no answer. But the answer that we have is all morning. When I'm preaching here, I'm preaching to myself. I receive the Holy Spirit.
I declare a turnaround is coming my way.
Turnaround is coming in my life.
Asiqhubeka nehlelo lethu sicale nganathi indzaba tesiswati liphini landvunankhulu imphunga Kusile dladla lithi setikhulile tinombolo tebantfu labanakekelwa lihhovisi lokwenta-ke kutsi sibe sikhulu sidzingo semali ledzingwa lihhovisi lakhe. Liphini landvunankhulu belivele embi kwetimphunga lakhona bekudzingidvwa liphakelo lalo lelihhovisi. Kanti-ke kunembiko.
ngicela kusho ke sihlalo kwekuthi nyalo nje lesesikwentile sine draft lamabili older persons draft bill siphinde sinalenye draft ye Eswatini social protection bill sine policy ke yayo le social protection le sesicleana nyalo stokhona ukuthi si present before tindlu siyacabanga uma sibuka kwekuthi njaloku silapha kubo 90,000 sibantu abadzala sihola lo 600 uhulumende kungenteka bokukhanze kwekuthi ungathi kuyenyukela ngoba siya retire sibothishela siya retire sibonesi siya retire singemaphoyisa siya retire singemasotsha yonke lemikhakha iya retire uma retire nje labanye ndebabo bajika ngala bafune le grant lokusho ukuthi uma ubuka ukuthi sita retire sibe bangaphi sonke besithatha kulona lelibhodo kanti sinalelinye elibhodo phela uhulumende lapho bakasigcumselela khona kupension sithithe kuma sithi siyayikhulumisa le kuyibuka ukuthi singayenda njani isihlalo lesihloniphekile babe bashokela abanye kwekuthi awu le mali njengami nje sengiretire ngiyahola ipension yami isegaca yebo vela ngiyidzingi le mali kepha nginika umntwana nami ezi pocket money lomunye athi mine ngikhona ukuthi ngithenge bo airtime lomunye athi mine ngikhona ukuthi ngithenge letinja tami kudla so uyabona lokuthi vele siyawudinga lo mthetho lotawubuka kwekuthi le mali vele mbamba le social grant njengaloku imithetho isho international instruments ngabe ayaka AU ngabe aka UN imchaza kahle umuntu lomdzala lo deserve i-social grant uthi ngimuphi so ke sitawusebenzisa lo mthetho sisebenzise lo mthetho ezisenta le draft ye policy and so on and so forth sasesihlala phasi ke njengaloku sesiyendile le draft yale mithetho kubuka kwekuthi ngimaphi lama category ngoba nabo laba penshelwe asilingani lomunye ngabe upenshelwe beka cleaner ehhovisi abegada ehhovisi abengidriver ehhovisi ipension yakhe ithini uma shuthi uhulumende mina ngakhona social grant lengaka for 9 level khona laba dzinga mbamba tidzingo tabo titinyenti labangazange sebawubone ngisho neminyango wekusebenta lesebahlele emakhaya sebaphelelwe ngemandla bantwana babalahlile njalo kusathi uthi i-vulnerability lengaphandle ingakanani bahlonishwa ngiyajabula ukuthi seniphumile nani niphumele ngaphandle ngimixa iparliament kubantu nitoyibona lento lele pass lesibona onke malanga eboba beboshift bangifakazi ukuthi le pass tidzingo tingakanani temaswati so ngeke ke sibone ukuthi asigijimisele umthetho niphindze nitokhona kusimbathisa ngawo kutokhona ukuthi le mali noma athi uhulumende inyuke ibonakale itokhona kubona tidzingo dalamaswati ngabe bantfu labadzala ngabe ngilabakhubatekile kanye nale office grant nakhona kumile because seyinyenti le mali lebheka ngaphandle actually nje lesisiba sibanika imali close to 200,000 nyalo labathole ama social grant
Eswatini liyadzinga kubanjiswa tinhlangano letitimele kanye ke netinhlangano takamhlaba ekuqinisekiseni ukuthi amalungelo esive ayahlonipheka nekwekuthi banikwe amathuba lafanako kuto tonke tinhlangothi kanye nasekulweni kangcono nesihlava sekubandlululana lokhu kushiwo kumabhalane lomkhulu etiko letemthetho nemthetho sisekelo Dr. Dlamini ngesikhathi yathula ngesikhathi ke yavula ngalokusemthethweni umhlangano wekuhlolisisa kanye nekucola luhlaka lolutawumikiswa kamhlaba kubuka ukuthi live leSwatini selihambe kangakanani endzabeni tekuhlonipha kanye-ke nekuvikela emalungelo ebantfu.
Lo mhlangano emalanga lamabili lokubheka ukuthi wephethe ngalesine ungene lwetinhlangothi letehlukene kufaka ekhathi itinhlangano letibuka emalungelo ebantfu kanye nelihhovisi lebashushisi kubala labambalwa lapho nabo ubheka ukuthi babe nelivi kulolu hlaka lolutawunika isithombe ngeleswatini kamhlaba etindzabeni tekuvikela emalungelo ebantfu. Mabhalane lomkhulu etiko letemtsetfo nemtsetfosisekelo uDr Dlamini ucele tonke itinhlangothi ukuthi tifake isandla kulolu hlaka kute kubhebhede labasalela ngephandle.
We are particularly grateful for your presence here today, especially in the light of the prevailing situation in the Gulf region, which continues to have a domino effect on global financial and logistical arrangements.
Mabhalane lomkhulu ubonga inhlangano ye-Commonwealth ngekusabela nabancuncuthi abalitiko noma umhlaba ubhekene netingqinamba letinyenti kufaka ekhatsi timbili ticubekako ngesheya kwetilwandle. Dlamini uthi labangenele lo mhlangano balisebentise kahle leli thuba bafunze phindze bashita neligwayi etinhlangothini letehlukene babambise litiko njengoma lilotwa ngeke likhone ngelokuphelele kuvikele emalungelo ebantfu lapha eveni. Lobuke lihhovisi lemalungelo ebantfu enhlanganweni ye-Commonwealth Justin Petit uthi bayajabula ngeligalelo lelifako leSwatini ekuhlonipheni emalungelo ebantfu.
Participation in these reporting processes is crucial in strengthening Eswatini's voice and visibility on the global stage, while also ensuring the country meets its international human rights obligations.
Dr. Justin Petit uthi uyathokoza ngekubona tinhlangano letahlukene tiyingxenye lomsebenzi lokusho ukuthi tonke tinhlangothi eveni leSwatini titawumeleleka tiphindze tibe nelivi kamhlaba. Petit uthi tawusita neleswatini kufeza ligoli lelishumi nesithupha goal number 16 kulawa kamhlaba yentuthuko lekhonsawo kanye nakuletinye tinhlangano lelatibophelela kuto kulelivekati le-Afrika. Laba melele tinhlangano talabasha nalabakhubatekile bathi abangasaleli ngemuva kulolu hlaka.
Siyayibona improvement ekwendekeni etinto kubantu abakhubatekile.
Seeing Youth Sustainable Development Center siva ngathi lo msebenzi lona umkhulu kakhulu and kumcoka ukuthi bantfu labasha nabo bayati ukuthi what is going on, bati ukuthi what is the state of human rights abo, because siva ngathi every single person uyadeserve kuba nemalungelo abo. Sibuke ukuthi regardless ukuthi whether umake, umbabe, umumfu lomusha, somdzala, whether uphila ngekhubeteka or mhlambe you are an able-bodied person, kumcoka ukuthi sinake ukuthi human rights, it's for everyone.
Kucolwa kwalolu hlaka kumele ukuthi kwephethe masinyane njengoma umbiko lophelele kubheke ukuthi umikiswe nokwephetha inyanga yenhlaba. Lo bikako ngumpendulo gumbi anacalisile emavimbela eMbabane.
Tikhulumi letinyenti esidlweni sasebusuku labe kukhulunyiswa khona tindzaba tesifo sesifuba sengati etimayini i-tuberculosis in the mines galadina. Tithi kulwa nalesifo etimayini kumele kungagcili eveni laseNingizimu Afrika kuphela kodwa kusabalale nakulamanye emave lasendansi nesifundza selivekati le-Afrika, i-Southern African Development Community.
Inhloso lenkulu yaleli dzili bekukade ekucinisa ubudlelwane ekuhlonipha libanga leselihanjiwe kanye nekugqugqutela kusebenzisana ekucedzeni isifo sesifuba sengati kanye nekucedza nya isifuba sengati kulabo asebenza etimayini. Tikhulumi letinyenti tithi njengaloku timayini taseNingizimu Afrika kusebenta tive letibuye emaveni ahlukene esifundeni sakaSadak. Kumcoka ukuthi kulwa naso lesifo kungagcini nje eveni laseNingizimu Afrika. Lisekela lasihlalo libukele tindzaba tesifuba sengati ephalamende lakuleli lokulunga lephalamende lenkundla yasesithobeleni umhlonishwa amancoba sihlongonyane kanye nalobuke kusebenta kwemakomiti ephalamende lakuleli impendulo ngcamphalala bebakathe balingenele leli dzili. Akhuluma kuleli dzili indvuna lelitiko letempilo eveni laseNingizimu Afrika Dr. Aaron Motsoledi uthi uhulumende kanye nebacashi abakhambise embili kuvikela tisebenti kutetempilo behlise ubungoti bese kuhlanyelwa imali lenyenti kuvikela sona lesifo.
Colleagues, this is a call for leadership from government and from industry to prioritize occupational health, reduce risks, and invest in prevention and care.
Indvuna yithi singancotshwa lesifo sesifuba sengati etimayini kanye nasemimangweni nje. Yakhetha ngekuthi kumcoka kwekuthi laba abasebenza etimayini kanye nemimango nalapho banike lwati ukuthi bahambe embili ekulweni nalesifo. Ubukethe inhlelo enhlanganweni yalabake basebenza etimayini esifundzeni lesingentasi nelivekati lase-Afrika, i-Southern African Miners Association SAMA vamajele uthi imali elinganiselwa ngetulu kwa-2.6 billion emalangeni kuncephethelwe ngayo labagula ngesifuba sengati noma isilicosis basebenza etimayini.
2.6 billion has been paid, not only in South Africa to make things better, even from the country where I come from. And this has been massive work. When you recall that we used to have MBOD, which was not dedicated to black miners. But today, it is actually covering all miners and ex-mine workers.
Uthi kule mali le akazuzi kuphela baseningizimu Afrika kodwa kuzuze labanye basemaveni akasadaki lokufaka ekhathi baseSwatini. Uthi lokhu ke kungumsebenzi omkhulu kakhulu futhi bekazama etima. Uthi lolu hlelo lizuzela abanyengi lokufaka ekhathi labasasebenza etimayini kanye nalabo labathatha umhlala phansi. Kuleli dzili kucizelelwe ukuthi kumele timpawu tesifo sesifuba sengati sitfolakale sisaqala ukuthi batovikeleka labasebenza etimayini. Kusho kwemininingwane yenhlangano yalabake basebenza etimayini iSwatini Migrant Mine Workers Association swamiwa baseSwatini labasebenza etimayini taseningizimu Afrika lesabayekela bangetulu kwa-100,000 bese labasachubeka nekusebenza abangetulu kwa-1,332 lobikako umfortune Dlangamandla ngise-Cape Town.
Bosomabhizinisi bakuleli bathi ingwenyama inkosi Mswati ibesekeleke kakhulu ukuthi bakhona ukuthuthukisa emabhizinisi abo baphindze basungule lamasha ngekusokomisa izikhwama letahlukene. Lokhu kuvetwe ngumengameli wenhlangano yabosomabhizinisi bakuleli ibhizinisi eSwatini ngesikhathi yahalalisela ingwenyama kucetha iminyaka lengamashumi ibusa live leSwatini.
Inhlangano yabosomabhizinisi eSwatini kungaba ithuba lelihle lokufisela umlisa 40 years athatha bukhosi kwethu kungaba kumbongela nje ukuthi solo athatha live solo limile solo liyachubeka liyandlondlobala nathi singamabhizinisi kakhulu uyasinika i-opportunity yokunene ukuthi sikhona kwenta imisebenzi yethu ngaphandle kokuhlukunyetwa noma ku-interference. Siyati ukuthi yawasapota kakhulu emabhizinisi eSwatini nahulumende wakhe. Siyinhlangano basomabhizinisi kuyasikhuthaza vele kuba level laseSwatini nalamanye ama-companies nje besati bokukhona sebakhona kusuppplya the many countries on the continent nababokhelokhu namhla bangenile nabo balandzela bona. Kusho kona ukuthi nama-investors angaphandle ayakholelwa eveni laseSwatini. Nathi-ke singamasomabhizinisi baseSwatini kuyasithokozisa kubona lokho nokuthi-ke sibone nemabhizinisi lamancane eSwatini akhula anza ngoba lokho kwenta ukuthi umnotho ukhule udlondlobala laseSwatini.
Umcondzisi wenhlangano yengungu yemathemba iSwaga noNhlanhla Dlamini uthi uyajabula ngendlela lokuchubeka ngayo luhlelo loluhlose kuletha impilo lengcono kubantwana labakhubatekile i-KNH project etikolweni letincane letimbili lokuyimbasheni kanye ne-St Joseph Primary School. Dlamini ukusho lokhu ngesikhathi lenhlangano ihlanganisa bothishela batali bafundisi kanye nebaholi bemimango kuletikolwa kubuka ukuthi engabe esigabeni sekucala loluhlelo luchubeka kanjani.
Inhlangano yengungu yemathemba iSwaga yasukumisa lolu hlelo nyakenye ngekwesekelwa ngemali uhulumende welive leJalimane ngenhloso yekuvala umkhathi lokhona ebantwaneni labakhubatekile ikakhulu kutemfundo. Umcondzisi wenhlangano yengungu yemathemba lapha eveni noNhlanhla Dlamini uchaza kabanti ngetinhlelo leticukethwe ngololu hlelo.
Siyawubona-ke umehluko ukuthi ukhona etindzaweni letinye letifaka bona labantwana lokunye-ke labakucela abantwana ngoba siphinde sibafundise nangetindzaba tekuhlukubeteka sibafundise ngabo-hygiene labanye ukhanze ukuthi kude wena le mali yensipho yekugeza nemafutha ekugcobisa. So-ke sikhonile-ke ukuthi sibasite bacale iproject yetinkhukhu lesikholwa ngokuthi nasebanaleti mali batawukhona ukuthi basebente bakhona ukuthi batinake bona njengebantfwana labakhubatekile.
Bheki Themba Mnisi longithishela kusinyisa letikolo ukuthi setivele tiyabonakala titselo talolu hlelo kuletikolwa.
Labantfwana-ke laba-ke uyafika-ke Swaga abatraine ukuthi bangatimukela kanjani bona kule simo labakiso bangatrithana kanjani again futhi bakhone nekuripota i-abuse ife iyendeka etimpilweni tabo. Since afikile-ke Swaga Msakade shothi-ke sibone lishintsho lolukhulu kakhulu sibothishela. Kunye nje lesikubonile kubekwehla kwe-absenteeism kubantfwana linciphile lizinga lethi balova bebalova ikakhulu kade-ke bantfwana ngabo-Monday ngoba kuba lilanga ledibhu lelo langa lekithi embasheni tinkhomo kanye netibhuti tiya edipini. so labantwana botfola sebatfola ke i-excuse yekulova. So ke since afikile eSwakha selehlile ke lezinga lekulova, sibone nebantwana ukuthi sebaphindze batimisela ekwendeni umsebenzi wabo wesikole, ngoba bafundzile phela ukuthi isikole awufundzeli umntalo wakho, awufundzeli umngani wakho, ufundzela ukuthi kusasa wena kube nguwe umphuloti abangcono empilweni.
Batali bona bathemakhaya kabenzawuleni kalithando kubantwana labakhubatekile lapha eveni.
I-abuse happens at home, so kuyabonakala ukuthi we need to put more effort silibuke vele elikhaya, because liyasikhombisa ukuthi ayisiyo indzawo ukuthi ungabeka umphana bese sithi uphephile. Ekhaya make mangifika hamba etinkhomeni, you didn't even think ukuthi udlile yini lo mphana lothi akaye etinkhomeni, kanti lesikolweni uyadla then uyakhona nekudlala. Thina ema-parents sometimes it's difficult.
Lolu hlelo kubheka ukuthi lifike emaphethelweni ngeminyaka wa-2028. Lo bikako ngumpendulo gumba nacalisile emavimbela ngamanzini.
Bothishela labasenhlanganweni yelubanjiswano isinat sakho sebatawukhona ke kutfola imali labayibolekile lefika ku-4,000 emalangeni ngelihlelo lwe-Standard Bank lolwatiwa nga-unayo. Lokhu kulandzela ukuthi lenhlangano yesayine sivumelwano sekusebenzisana naleli bhange emahhovisini ayo kamanzini.
Members esinat cooperative akusadzingi ukuthi etemabhange noma etela ema-office esinat ukuthi athole ama-loans awo, sekangakhona ku-aplayela ahlele ekhaya, kanti nalo unayo yakhona kumvula uhlele ekhaya. Kutoletha nje convenience kakhulu ku onke ama-members esinat njengoba siyamati unayo ukuthi usebenza kanjani, uyakhona kuvula account uhlele ekhaya. Le account uma uyivula lokumcoka ku-prevent fraud, le account yakhona uma uyivula kuyi-verifier i-ID yakho ku-database yaka-Home Affairs, which means angeke kwendeke ukuthi le account yakho ibe yalomunye umuntu yakho kuphela.
Umphathi wenhlangano yekonga nekwebolekisa yabothishela uthi kwanyalo bothishela basetawukhona kuthola imali lengu-4,000 emalangeni kulesigaba sekucala salesivumelwano, kepha-ke bafise ukuthi ikhule ide ifike ku-20,000 emalangeni.
Lo first phase uthi nangabe lilunga liboleke imali kwesinat sakho likhona kuyitfola through unayo lelo lelifunako. Lokho kutawenda ukuthi lama member ethu lasachithisa lonke live laseSwatini lasikhathati akhone ukuthi abe nendlela yokutfola imali judane.
Labasebenta ngaphansi kwalenhlangano basilesivumelwano sitawukwenda kube melula kusita emalunga.
Itakwenda i-convenience nekuthi lilunga likhone nalifikile likhone le customer experience ibe melula.
Emalunga ethu sekatositakala kangcono.
This gives us an advantage kithine as a sakho ukuthi sikhona ukuservice emalunga ethu wherever they are ngalesikhathi lesiconvenient kibo.
Emalunga lenhlangano yekonga nekwebolekisa yabothishela abalelwa ku-13,000. Lo bikako nguNelson Dlangamandla ngikamanzini.
Bantu labaphila nelibala ngephansi kwenkhundla yasenkhaba sebatfolela usito ngemuva kwekuthi inhlangano iStuki Foundation ibanikelele tintfo letifaka ekhatsi tigcoko tekuvikela lilanga, ama-sunscreen kanye nekudla. Le nhlangano inikelele bantfu labalinganiselwa ema-30.
Inhlangano iStuki Foundation iyachubeka nekubambisa lihhovisi leliphini lamvunankhulu ekunakekeleni bantfu labanelibala kuleli. Bantfu labanelibala labalinganiselwa kulange-30 enkhundleni yasenkhaba sebangulabanye labapholela usito kule nhlangano. Imphunga Dr. Stuki Motha uthi kungumsebenzi wako bayinhlangano ukuthi nabo bafake isandla ekufufukiseni bantfu labanelibala eveni.
Ngekusiphathini tethu sikhonele ukuthi sibe netigqoko, sibe nemafutha, sibe nalokuya ethunjini. Angeke ke sigcine namuhla sitawuta nje sitowufundzisa sifundzise batali, sifundzise ummango, bothishela labakule nkhundla ukuthi uma lalona albinism esikolweni kudzingeka umphathe kanjani, yini tidzingeko takhe ekhaya, yini lekudzingeka kwenziwe ngumntali kwananawe ukuthi utiphatha njani ukuze uhlale uphephile.
Lilunga leParliament umhlonishwa Hopshiba uthi sivele sikule nkhundla lesikhubatekile kufaka ekhathi bona bantfu labanelibala bayadzinga kubanjiswa kanike bayayitibonga tinhlangano letifana neStuki Foundation letibabambisako.
Sijabule kakhulu nje lisito lolungaka lalethi ude kubo kutoba supporta kakhulu ngalama sunscreens ngoba adulile badala bakhona nje kuwathenga kulesinye isikhathi bayaye bakhale-ke nasenkundleni. Sizame ukubabambisa nathi ukhanza ukuthi lesinye isikhathi siphelele eteni. Lolu sito lolu nje vele litawuhamba a long way kubasida labaphila nelibala.
Sipho Dlamini lobe ngulomunye walabo ophola lusito ubongela abantu labaphila nelibala. Washo ukuthi sidingo besikhona ngoba kuyabita kutinakekela nawe umuntu lophila nelibala.
Sidingo semanitsi abantu ngelabakubatekile sikhulu kakhulu. Nasibuka ke emuva nje indlela bebathatheka ngayo ke emangweni. But ke sibonga ke lihlelo ke la uhulumende labo disability inclusion lokuthi labantu ke labakhubatekile lusito nakubo ke seluyasonzela.
Lusito loluvela kuSukhu Foundation lukhombisa ukuthi lisekhona lithemba kubantu labaphila nelibala futhi likhuthaza imiphakathi ukuthi ichubeke nokubasekela abasitakale. Kubika Nompendulo Shabalala eNkhaba.
Kucabana kanye nekulwa kwebatali embi kwabantwana ngikoloku bebhetela umkhuba webugebengu ukuthi ke bantwana bathi khanze bayingcenye yemacembu igangsterism kanye nekwanza kwekuhlukubetana ngetebulili gender based violence. Kusile Malambe lobukela uhlangothi lwekuvikela bucala emaphoyiseni yasebuhleni ukhulumeke emhlanganweni nesive sasemayiwane wagcizelela kakhulu endzabeni kwekuthi batali abanakisise lishintsho kubantu babo babuye balandzelele nekwekuthi basaphila impilo lehlobile yini. Mhlangano ke bawukatha ubanjelwe eholeni leHerefords ngemsombuluko.
Constable Kusile Malambe lihlangothi lekuvikela bucala emaphoyiseni ebuhleni ucela bona abatali ukuthi bajinge babekele iso lelikhaliphile kubantwana ngoba liningi labo bangenela igangsterism bangadi nekuthi bendani ngenxa yokuyengwane koniswa abangani.
Cela uwaphoyise ema-exercise emfana siyabona. Kunana tinombolo lokhanze ukuthi batibhalile. Tinake ke wena. Bayambhala 28. Kube angabhala 28 kulo lonke lipage le-exercise lakhe nabo 26. Lesikunaka kakhulu ke kulabantwana. Ukuthi bona abati ukuthi basuke bentani. It's just i-peer pressure nje kuphela. Uyukhanze ukuthi babhale umukhwa. La exercise etakhe ubhala umukhwa nje. Yabona? Kulobunye ubhala emathuna la exercise lakhe. Kulobunye abhale kitepisi. Nakhona lo mfana ukuthi ubuletha sisotombopha ngithi. Simhlalisa phasi simkhulumise mfana wami vobadale yami wangena lana kwendekeni. Labanye bayanikhomba ngendiswe bobabe namake bahlale balwa every day.
Sergeant Sibusiso Ngomoye yena ukhongosele kubosomabhizinisi kakhulukazi labo labathengisa tshwala ukuthi bajinge balandzele imithetho nemigomo lebekiwe ngani ngoba bucala lobuningi bendakala kuletindzawo lapho khona kutfolakala nebantfwana labangephansi kweminyaka ligunyatwa ngumthetho sebalimele kuto letindzawo.
Siyacela ke bekulele labo labadala amabhizinisi lawo ukuthi lama-hour ekusebenta noma ikhasti ekusebenta sicela tilandzeleleke. Kuba likhunje ngokuthi ekuseni ngabo-3 namhlanje ekuseni bengi-attenda lo mntwana ukwaziwe utshaleni na 15 years umngane wena losebenza lapha eBarrel umvumela njani umngane na 15 years ukuthi angene wena ke lona sport sakho umthengisela njani umngane na 15 years asifuna kumthatha lapha esibhedlela kuzweni uthi angiyini esibhedlela unenceba lenkulu la uthi angiyini esibhedlela strong. Sicela ukuthi labo bema license bamane bagade lesikhathi bamane bahambe nayicabekelwane lithambisana nelicense.
Sicelo Dlamini ubonge bemthetho ngifika abadowethela lesive ngelwati wendlula ukhonkosela kubo ukuthi bajinge bababambise basalwa nekucedza bucala kulommango. Emaphoyisa achuba letifundo emayiwane nje lijale lineminyaka ngu-27 nasetingonini esifundzeni sahoho bekatse limise timbilapho embi kwamanje enkantolo yaseSpiki inkosi Mpile Maseko ngelicala lekushisa indlu yesingane salo libuye letameni kusigwaza embi kwabantu abaso lababili lekuyinkomba kutsi tifundvo letifana naleti live leSwatini lisatidzinga kakhulu kute lilwe nalomkhuhlane we-gender based violence. Kubika Thabiso Maphanga emayiwane.
Kutemidlalo kapteni welicembu leManzini Wanderers Mlamuli Nkambule lowatiwa kakhulu ngelamlaba sawusishile emhlabeni. Kushiya kwakhe Nkambule kuvetwe licembu leManzini Wanderers embikweni leliwukhokhele betindzaba.
Ngosa kwangalesibili umndeni webhola uvuke netindzaba letibuhlungu temdlali welicembu leManzini Wanderers lokungukapteni walo lelicembu umlamuli Mlaba Nkambule ukuthi sewusishiyile emhlabeni. Licembu lakhe leManzini Wanderers embikweni laba ukhokhele betindzaba ekhasini laka Facebook lelicembu livetile ukuthi lisetawuchumana kabanti nemndeni wakhe. Bemndeni webhola nakuvela letindzaba bakhombe kuthumala kakhulu baphindze balilela nemndeni wakaNkambule. Licembu leManzini Wanderers kanye nabo bonke batsanzi bemdlalo webhola. Lokho-ke kufaka ekhatsi umengameli wenhlangano lengamela lomdlalo webhola kuleli kanye nemphatho yenhlangano yePremier League of Eswatini.
Sicela nje ukuthi at least uNkulunkulu le family yakhe ibabophe emanxeba. Siba sebholeni vele lokhu kuyasidisturba and kuyasiphazamisa because ngilo lenye jaha lebesigatsile lokuthi uyasida ekuthuthukiseni libhola lalakithi. So but uma sashiya nanathi vele kusifisa buhlungu.
Utsinzile inhlitiyo tebantu labanengi ngekudlalela emacembu lamakhulu ngekwehlukana wawo lelive. Lokho bekukhombisa kona ukuthi kude licembu lebe lingamfuni ukuthi atolidlalela kulesigaba labesakuso noma kumbe bokungambuka wena ukuthi sowudlalile kumbe ngekubuka kweminyaka yekutalwa ungasho ukuthi iminyaka yakhe seyithasalwa phumula kodwa ukhombisile luthando ikakhulu kade kulo licembu layo iManzini Wanderers. Sithi nje nalabancane badlali abakophe kuye kula kwendile kuze ukuthi ithuthuke lizinga labo lekwenda kangcono ikakhulu kade ebholeni.
Nkambule usishiya nje ungukapteni welicembu leManzini Wanderers kanzi ungulomunye wabadlali labadlalela amacembu lamathathu lamakhulu akuleli lafake yona iManzini Wanderers, Babana Highlanders, Babana Swallows kanzi wadlalela neDenver Sundowns kanye ne-Umbelebele Jomo Cosmos. Lobikako uLenda Dlamini eMbabane.
Indvuna yelitiko letindlu nekutfutfukiswa kwemadolobha umhlonishwa Apollo Maphalala sewetfule ngalokusemtsetfweni umncintiswano wematubane yenhlangano half marathon letawubeke ibanjwe kwekucala lonyaka. Indvuna ithi lokhu kuyinkhomba yekutfutfuka kwesifundza seShiselo latse nebaholi bemadolobha tinhlelo tabo tentfutfuko saletiba letenabile. Hanze-ke sekugcina Sidumo Dlamini welicembu lePicks Peak Professionals uthole umhlomelo wemdlali lodlale wagcama kamula Sports National First Division ngenyanga yeNdlovana. Dlamini uthi uyathemba ukuthi indlela ladlala ngayo itawusita lelicembu ukuthi lenyukele esigabeni se-MTN Premier League. Asitephethe lapho ndzabadethu teSiswati sitawukhuluma na Chairperson we-Youth Chamber of Commerce Industries Mbabane Chapter Mzwandile Nxumalo masibuye emakethe.
To all the viewers of Eswatini TV in the kingdom and beyond. Eswatini TV is regulated by the Eswatini Communications Commission through the broadcast. Under these instruments, the station commits to broadcasting information and news that have been fact-checked, programs and content in respectful language with no elements of hate speech, violence or sexual activity. If you hear any unsuitable content on this channel, you have a right to voice your complaints with the station management. Should you not be satisfied with the response or action taken, you can escalate your matter to the Communications Commission at PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Call 2406 7000 or send an email to info@esccom.org.za. For more information, visit www.esccom.org.za.
kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba-researche, bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna senze ukukhicita lokhu sekungile.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Welcome back. It's 41 minutes after 6. You're watching Kusile Breakfast Show. There is a growing concern and a growing energy among young entrepreneurs in the Kingdom of Eswatini that ideas are no longer the problem, but access is the issue. Access to funding, there's the access to markets conversation, as well as the access to networks that can turn potential into real enterprise. The Capital Lead Expo 2026 is stepping into the gap with a clear intention, and that is to move young people from ambition to execution. They have a theme, young and funded. The Expo is bringing together institutions. They are bringing policymakers into the room as well as innovators in one room, and they want to unpack what it takes to build a bankable business. This morning, we're joined by the chairperson of the Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industries, the Eswatini Mbabane chapter, Mzwandile Ngumalo. Thank you so much for your time, Mguni. And what a beautiful concept. Really excited to see what is going to unfold there, and also just looking at the issues that you want to address. Some of those issues have been recurring thorns, particularly around MSME development. Maybe take us through it. What inspired it?
Ngabayengos, I'd like to first appreciate the platform, sibonge also the nation at large, le bukele nyalo ekseni naleta ubukela post. Everything that we are doing is kuhlonipha libhubesi imbube emhlaba, and to make sure ukuthi the vision resonates with the youth specifically, and uthi nzinzaba lemqoko amgoni le ma MSMEs, because as Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industry, specifically Mbabane chapter, I mandate yethu is very clear. Because we're trying to make sure ukuthi le pipeline le tawukhicita bosoma business labancane or angithi bosoma business labasathuthuka into the impact of the economy. So kuningi lesikunakile lokuhambelana ne I'd say young business entrepreneurs and enterprises who are operating off the grid, and sekushoda nje just the knowledge gap ukuthi kusho kuthini to be on the grid and to be compliant and to be procurement ready. Hence silanze bo setco, silanze bo tholulwazi hub, and of course the local economic development office gamaspala, to make sure that the youth is in the same room where all of these conversations are happening. So changing the mindset and bridging the knowledge gap is the phase that we are on now as Mbabane chapter of Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industries Eswatini.
And I think certainly the one thing that is drawing a lot of us into this initiative is the theme itself. It's very short, but it seems very important, and it's quite easy to interpret. Young and funded. We are a young population in Eswatini, and young people have been complaining about not being funded, either through, speaking to the barriers to entry, and some of the red tapes that exist within these systems. Talk to me about what inspired this theme and what it should mean to a young person entering that room.
100%. So, Ndwanda, for me, I'm a testament of the journey. I run a company called Kingdom XLR, which was established in 2020. So we're turning 6 years this year. So I've seen how the journey of a startup in real time can and could be. Lokti, from getting your trading license, Form J, Form C, and making sure that you are compliant year in and year out. So in terms of the passion that I have is 100% authentic, Mngoni, and lana nasesibuka ukuthi nasilalela umhlonishwa lapha lo phethe ilitiko laka finance Mr. Reichenberg beka solo achaza ukuthi with each litiko kune budget le allocated lenje nakukhulunywa nge-youth ikhona le mali lekhona lebekiwe lesuke from a national perspective that will trickle down into local and parastatal. So it's the mandate now to get the youth to at least be on point and to be par with the information ukuthi okay cha nangabe ikhona imali yokuthuthukisa intsha nembubu emhlaba speech nje lesabeka ndvunankulu umhlonishwa ndvunankulu naleso speech leso bekashito okandaba ukuthi youth, that's where we need to be focused on, because the fact is we are 70% in our population lakhaya. So the quicker we get our youth to at least think along the lines of policy making, along the lines of economic building and economic development, then we are on the right path, because the future is not the past, the future is not the future, the youth is the present.
Yeah, and I do want to speak to something that you hinted on earlier, which is the collaboration. You do have the Mbabane Municipal Council. You do have the Youth Enterprise Revolving Fund.
Yes, sir.
But you also do have SETCO, who are all key players in what you are driving here. How intentional were you in saying we are shaping collaboration as opposed to isolated support?
Thank you so much, Mngoni. So what I was so fortunate because through the exchange program with the U.S. Embassy, I was able to go and learn about economic development through the arts. And then little did I know, was Nangdao Buyakaya, God being the glory, I aligned specifically and perfectly with the Youth Chamber of Commerce, which has the mandate of making sure it becomes a cross intersection of all of these, I'd say, industry players, from funding to scaling and to equipping and capacitation. So we were very intentional as we got into office, because we are here until 2028. So and this is our first one, and we made sure when we come out to the public, we made sure all the frameworks are in place, which means yes, we'll bring the youth together and together as well, but we can't let that happen without having a blessing Yamaspala, because we are operating in the local governance context, which is the Local Economic Development Office of the Mbabane Municipal Council. And then not only having the conversation leaning on city building and smart city, but specifically Naskulmange economic development, and we are looking at also involvement youth fund, who have been making sure to have the message punting and resonating with the youth. So we made sure Nabo Sibalete and have the long-term agreement and long-term, I'd say, collaboration and impact with the youth. Yes, the fund is there, but what exactly needs to be happening in terms of dotting the I's and crossing the T's as a young entrepreneur operating in the Kingdom of Eswatini? But in this context specifically, Mbabane, we also made sure in SETCO, because SETCO has done an amazing job, because it's small businesses that they are capacitating from compliance, so that procurement ready, so that when all of these opportunities and tenders or whatever expression of interest available from different companies, youth ingasali, because youth lona. So the quicker we have to capacitate the youth in getting, I'd say, in the same part of business and economic building, building and just general, I'll say, access, that is where we are at. So we're very intentional with that one, and I encourage Gutsi kungagcini lana sichubeke vele, and to make sure, and just lastly, is to make sure Gutsi, as you're speaking to the youth, kungaba liphutha lelikhulu kakhulu zwide Gutsi staw bita youth sishiye creative arts industry. So we had to make sure Gutsi ban labanjengabo Cipo intellectual bomdura bo Lerato Mabilisa nabo Ace Jules, they also form part of this event to make sure ukuthi kungabi pitch letiningi ngoba iyouth bese yacisha nasekuhamba pitch isikhathi lesitha.
Absolutely. Now, you speak on the responsibility or the mandate that SETCO has with regards to furthering the conversation around compliance, as well as the understanding of procurement in its entirety. And we have seen that there's often been a disconnect between compliance requirements and youth readiness. And I want you to speak on that in detail, that how this expo is going to help these young entrepreneurs that will be in that room to become procurement ready as well as investment ready.
100%. Thank you for that one. So numbers never lie. Women lie, men lie, numbers don't. So the whole point is to make sure our numbers speak the volume. Nasiti numbers is kulmangani mgono, kulmanga the database. As Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Eswatini, specifically the Mbabane chapter, Nastao leta na Youth Expo, rather na Capital Leap Expo. Yes, we have the conversation. Yes, we have the capacitation and economic building. But lokumtoa akulu is to make sure siyati in detail. Ngibani look ideation stage, ngibani look development stage, ngibani look thriving stage. Kuthi khona lo tsengisa mafethi ngiyabekisa, khona lo tsengisa eyes, or maybe khona lo lungisa catfulo, or whatever the case is that the youth is busy with. Babe khona la kule database, so that tomorrow when we get to another phase where we influence policy making that will allow these small businesses or MSMEs to thrive, kube nalama conversations la are very detailed and very informed in terms of Gutsi Silungsa Tinvo leti very relevant and real time and in actual evidence Gutsi banlabasha banema business la yini la kuphi, so that we can meet them halfway from a corporate perspective, from a national perspective and local governance perspective. Gutsi those numbers need to inform us Gutsi where is the mind of the youth and where is the business thriving and how can we capacitate the youth in that case. So,
and this initiative is part of that drive to sort of consolidate and collect those numbers, because there's been that conversation, a very big concern, not only from us here at home, even from investors from outside of the country who need data, because that data, like you said, then informs how they disseminate whatever assistance they want to.
100%, and we can't do it on our own. That's why with all humility and respect and gratitude to YERF, who have been a very huge industry player, specifically with capacitating the youth, ngana funding, but all of these things are functioning because of how our system of governance is, from national to local governance. Nazi as a youth chamber, Lana, we're playing our part. Not only that, but same thing with SETCO and Municipal Council of Mbabane.
Yeah. What should a young person that is, going to enter that room come fully prepared with to fully benefit from, the conversations that you will having? And perhaps, is it just about the ideas, or you are expecting a certain level of structure there?
That's a good one, Mgoni. I think this is the camera.
Yeah.
Please, young person, make sure, as we speak, go and make sure you have your business card ready. If not, this is the time to get that ready and have a curious mind. Have your business card, have a curious mind, so that when you are in that room, network is your net worth. Network is your net worth. So as you network, make sure ukuthi igama lakho bayalikumbula noma ngaba bakhona ukukusita lamuhla. lokhu ufikile wanqonqotha, tomorrow they'll remember you, and please don't give up, because the journey that we are in, from I guess Elzai, I'll bring the hip hop into this.
Do they know Elzai? Do they know?
It's like the ups and downs create a W. So for you to win, make sure you don't neglect you are going through the ups and downs. It's part of the journey, it's part of the story, and we extreme sport to get entrepreneurship. So have a thick skin and be okay with failure. Good lessons within that.
Yeah, and then you've brought a platform, and let me not call it. Yeah, it is a platform. You've brought in platforms like Tolulwazi Hub that you mentioned in your first answer when you were mentioning some of the stakeholders that you have as part of this initiative. And I suppose that does suggest a strong focus on innovation, but not only innovation. Another critical thing that it's suggesting is storytelling.
Yes.
Just how important are those two facets when it comes to seeking capital today? Branding, capital, storytelling.
Thank you so much for touching on Tolulwazi. Tolulwazi is a very essential piece of Nai Capital Leap Expo, specifically Lena Leendega this coming weekend, because you don't only want to have all of these entities that are speaking to the youth, but you need Labo Labai youth themselves, which is i.e. Tolulwazi with a YPA. And they also have a portfolio, even women in business, women in digital business. So that is the voice that we need in that specific room, so that Nemulomusha Ahlelapa, Alalela, what SETCO has to say, what Youth Fund has to say, what Municipal Council has to say, but Lokulma in Zabalekisha, he represented the youth in business is Tolulwazi. So I would like to give a huge shout out to Tolulwazi for lero la kubeka idlala, and simsekele kakhulu Tolulwazi Hub, because that is the capacitating future.
From the work that you've been doing, I mean, you said you'll be working until 2028, and I suppose you've sort of gotten a feel of some of the common mistakes that the youth continue to make when they try to access funding. And I love to go back to funding because the theme is young and funded.
Yes, yes.
What are some of those mistakes, the most common ones?
That's a good one, good. I'm not trying to sit here and be better than the next, but I'll speak as myself. I've been a victim also of those kind of mistakes, because often at times as young people, sifuna lo convert le passion even the business. Because I make music, now the music has to be the business. Ganzi, in reality, a real business is a business that solves problems. So nangabe kune problem lekhona and I bring a solution and I bring that kind of value to the economy. Nayo ke business lekufuna concentrate kiyo. Maybe then I can then convert that kind of inshisekelo to then direct it towards my passion. But you rather be an entrepreneur that brings solutions in a creative way. That is called innovation. And then songa bese soyagisa passion, because as young people sifuna lokuba nale passion sikucule ibe ngile business ngengane kanzi. You can run both in parallel. However, it is very wise to look at a business. For instance, kunetinto nje lengingabekisa kuthiwe kune expression of interest, let's ifuna stationery or let's ifuna a toilet paper. I'm not passionate about stationery or no toilet papers, but if that is a solution that is needed, or it's a problem that needs a solution that I can provide, then I should get into that business and make sure what's in your procure, but I should do it with great intentions and a clean heart. Washo umthombene webabukisi foundation gothi nakhona sengikhohle beka quote abane gothi indzaba yema good intentions mngunise iphelile. Everybody got good intentions, but we are living in a season now of good actions. Good actions. Yes, you have all these good things that you want to do, but we have to start acting right now. So in that same context. Yes, sir.
So essentially, we need a mindset shift urgently now more than ever. And do you see that fitting into the prevalence of And I'm happy that initially you did mention that the idea of, within the complexity of the whole business ecosystem, that some people are in the thriving stage,
Yes, sir.
some are in the ideation stage, just different stages really within the whole ecosystem. Do you believe that the lack of this mindset change is the reason why? And I know that the biggest example is the trading of tomatoes, that if you sell tomatoes, I also want to sell tomatoes.
Yes.
Have you seen that being a thorn amongst our youth?
100%. I think it's more of a lack of knowledge. There's so many opportunities. Usually people are, well, in general, and it has been a small talk for so many years in the kingdom of Eswatini. But hey, I look at that as a great opportunity, because what could be viewed as basic to the rest of the world, and specifically yemasiko khona labatawubuka, for instance nje indzaba yemihelwane sebathe mbo emihelwaneni sebathe mbo emagcebesheni kusete ngisamele namunye lotawungena emafahlawaneni uyabona lokuthi nange mafahlawane yebana lisibling but amakhalakhala ngiyabekisa. So I'm just making this as an example, ukuthi there's so much space for us to thrive as young business people, but singawashila masiko specifically, but it doesn't have to be also just limited to imihambo nemasiko, but that is the focal point. Now we need to look into all these other things that make us unique as a Maswati, and try to make sure that we thrive in our local context, but also appeal to the global platform or community.
Capital Lead Expo 2026 happening this coming weekend.
Yes.
Am I correct? The specific dates and locations, please, just quickly.
100%. Capital Leap Expo is happening on Saturday, 28th of this month, which is March, at the library, National Library Mbabane, Ndibanweni, aka the American Corner, from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. Please make sure you are there. There's very limited space. Follow us on all social media platforms, from Kingdom XLR to myself as Lucian_XLR. Sfagema link lapha kubutosho. Please make sure you click on the link and reserve your space. There's limited spaces, and it's satawukhula sifike lapha nalapha.
Zwandile Nxumalo, the chairperson of the Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Mbabane chapter. Let's go for a net break. We have our news in English when we return. Stay with us.
Those that are in pain must forget all the problems they have. Because the things of the earth have got no answer. But the answer that we have is all morning. When I'm preaching here, I'm preaching to myself. I receive the Holy Spirit.
I declare that a turnaround is coming my way.
Turnaround is coming in my life.
Thank you for staying with us here on Kusile Breakfast Show. We keep going and we get into our English news now. Our first story, the Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Kusile Dladla, says the number of people that are supported by the office has increased. Thus, the need for an increment in the budget that is allocated to the office. The Deputy Prime Minister was speaking in the House of Senate on Tuesday.
Senators debated the Deputy Prime Minister's office budget, where the Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Kusile Dladla, asked that her budget of $1.022 billion be passed, stating that the number of overseas, elderly people, and people with disabilities that they're taking care of as an office have grown compared to the past year, which clearly states that more funds are needed to get the job done.
Draft lamabili, older persons draft bill. Siphinde sinalenye draft ye Eswatini Social Protection Bill. Sine policy ke yayo le social protection le sesi clean anyalo stokhona ukuthi si present before tindlu. Siyacabanga uma sibuka kwekuthi njaloku silapha kubo 90,000 sibantu abadzala sihola lo 600. Uhulumende kungenteka bokukhanze kwekuthi ungathi kuyenyukela ngoba siya retire sibothishela siya retire sibonesi siya retire singemaphoyisa siya retire singemasotsha yonke lemikhakha iya retire uma retire nje labanye ndebabo bajika ngala bafune le grant.
The Deputy Prime Minister says with numbers increasing, they cannot achieve their goal on a limited budget. Therefore, pleads that her ministry's budget be passed. Senators applauded the incredible job done by the office of applying the Ngwe spirit. Some people, including the senators themselves and the parliamentary as a whole, do applaud the job done by the Deputy Prime Minister's office. Some, however, seek clarity on who qualifies for a one-room, two-room and a double-story house and the method used.
Mina uyathi ngimangele ngathi hawo eMaswati lamanye akafuni kubona lenye indlu ihlele kwalenye say double story ngaze kube nendlu nje ihlele kwalenye sekunemona lomkhulu ongawadi so ukhulunyelwe mlulami angiboni usathi usayikhanuka nalendlu.
Responding, the Deputy Prime Minister says they are working on removing elderly people who get their pension and still want to get the elderly grant as well. She says different situations determine the size of the house as well as number of family members who live on that particular homestead. She then asked that other responses be brought in writing. Reporting, I am Kian MCB, Parliament.
The Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs is calling on local as well as all international players and organizations to ensure that human rights are respected and that all sectors and communities play their part in promoting and protecting these rights. This was stated by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Justice, Dr. Dlamini, and this was during the review and consultation process on the Universal Periodic Review Report that is aimed at assessing Eswatini's progress in promoting and protecting human rights.
The two-day workshop is part of the review process of Eswatini's Universal Periodic Review Report, with various stakeholders, including human rights organizations and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, among others, are expected to input into the framework that will give Eswatini a global snapshot on human rights protection. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Dr. Dlamini, calls on all stakeholders to participate in the process so that no one is left behind.
We are particularly grateful for your presence here today, especially in the light of the prevailing situation in the Gulf region, which continues to have a domino effect on global financial and logistical arrangements. Despite these challenges, you responded positively to our request and made necessary sacrifices to be with us. I encourage each of you to actively engage, to share your expertise, and to maximize this opportunity, not only to meet the objectives of this session, but also to learn from the diverse experience and insights that will be shared.
Commonwealth Head of Human Rights Justin Petit says they welcome Eswatini's commitment to promoting human rights and note that the country has committed itself to international cooperation on these issues.
Participation in these reporting processes is crucial in strengthening Eswatini's voice and visibility on the global stage, while also ensuring the country meets its international human rights obligations. As you know, Eswatini is party to 7 of the 9 core international human rights treaties. In addition to reporting to the Universal Periodic Review, the Sustainable Development Goals, and the African regional mechanisms, government also has a responsibility to monitor progress and periodically report to the relevant treaty bodies on how Eswatini's international commitments are being translated into national level action.
The consultation process is expected to be completed soon, with the final report to be submitted in late June. Reporting Pendulo Kumbi with Kusile Mavimbela in Babane.
Speakers at the Tuberculosis in the Mines Gala dinner said that the fight against tuberculosis in the mining sector should not be limited to South Africa alone, but must also extend to other countries within the Southern African Development Community region.
The main aim of the gala dinner was to strengthen partnerships, recognize the progress made, and encourage collaboration in ending tuberculosis TB, particularly among mine workers. Speakers at the event said that since mines in South Africa employ workers from different countries within the SADC region, the fight against TB should not be confided to South Africa. Eswatini Parliamentary TB Caucus Deputy Chairperson and Member of Parliament from Stobela, Honorable Mancoba Slongonyane, together with Parliamentary Portfolio Committee Clerk Mpendulo Nzampalala, also attended the event. Speaking at the dinner, South African Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, says government and industries must take the lead in protecting workers, health, reducing risk, and investing more resources into prevention.
Colleagues, this is a call for leadership from government and from industry to prioritize occupational health, reduce risks, and invest in prevention and care. Let us honor the progress we've made, but let us also commit with renewed agency to the work that lies ahead. Because indeed, yes, we can end TB in our minds, in our communities. It's also important to empower mine workers and communities to take charge of their health and to access services early and without stigma. Yes, we can end TB led by mining and health leaders, powered by our workforce and communities.
Southern Africa Miners Association SAMA Regional Coordinator Vamachele says an estimated 2.6 billion eMalangan has been paid out to compensate former mine workers suffering from TB or silicosis.
2.6 billion has been paid, not only in South Africa, to make things better, even from the country where I come from. And this has been massive work. When you recall that we used to have MBOD, which was not dedicated to black miners. But today, it is actually covering all miners and ex-mine workers. What I like about it is that there used to be worse databases that you can ever come across. But from that date to date, we have a best database, the CCMS. And that is one of the areas that we'll have to appreciate, especially to the partners that are actually working on this.
It was also emphasized at the dinner that TB symptoms must be detected early to better protect mine workers. According to data from the Eswatini Migrant Mine Workers Association, there are over 100,000 eMaswati former mine workers who work in South African mines, while more than 1,332 are still actively employed. Reporting Fortune Dlangamandla, Cape Town.
The Eswatini Action Group Against Abuse Director, Nonhlanhla Dlamini, says she is pleased with the progress of the KNH project that is aimed at improving the lives of children with disabilities in 2 primary schools, namely Mbasheni and St. Joseph. Dlamini made the remarks during a meeting bringing together teachers, parents and community leaders to review the project's first-year progress. The project seeks to provide a conducive environment for children with disabilities, and it was held at the George Hotel on Tuesday.
SWACA, a human rights organization, is reviewing the first-year performance of the KNH project, a 3-year initiative aiming to improve the lives of children with disabilities in schools. SWACA Director Nonhlanhla Dlamini speaks highly of the project, saying it's a significant step forward.
There's been a major success because when we started the project, we had a baseline survey, and now we presenting findings of what improvement has actually happened out of this project. Amongst other things, we realized that parents and children are now having a better relationship than what it was like before. But the most disturbing thing that we've actually found out of the survey was that children are not comfortable staying at home. So some of the discussions that we were having with the parents was to find out why they think children are not comfortable staying at home. But as an organization, we are not surprised because when we look into our statistics, most of the abuse that is happening is actually happening at home.
Peggy Tembamnis, a teacher at one of the schools, noted that the project's initiatives are already visible.
Labantwana ke laba ke uyafika ke saka abatraine ukuthi bangadimukela kanjani bona kulesimo labakiso bangatrithana kanjani again futhi bakhone neku-reporta i-abuse ife iyendeka etimpilweni tabo. Since afikile ke sagamsakade shothi ke sibone lishintsho lolukhulu kakhulu sibothishela.
Mnisi says the SWACA KHN program has been a game changer for them and their students. He says it helped minimize the absenteeism among students and have seen a significant improvement in their dedication to their schoolwork. He says they are now more engaged, more motivated, and is showing in their results. He says they are grateful for the support and the resources the program has brought to their school. Parents emphasize that homes should be supportive environments for children with disabilities.
Abuse happens at home, so we need to put more effort silibuke vele likhaya because liyasikhombisa ukuthi ayisiyo yenza ukuthi ungabeka umphana bese sithi uphephile.
Ekhaya make mangifika hamba etinkhomeni you didn't even think ukuthi udlile yini lo mphana lothi akaye etinkhomeni kani lesikolweni uyadla then uyakhona nekudlala thina ama parents sometimes it's difficult.
The project is set to run until 2028. Reporting Pendulo Kumbi with Kusile Mavimbela in Manzini.
People living with albinism under the Nkaba constituency have received support from the Stuki Foundation. The organization donated food parcels and sunscreen to improve their daily lives and their well-being.
The Stuki Foundation continues to support the Deputy Prime Minister's office in caring for people living with albinism in the country. About 30 beneficiaries from Kaba have received assistance from the organization. The founder of the organization, Senator Dr. Stuki says it is their responsibility to help the lives and well-being of people with albinism.
Eswatini tethu sikhonile ukuthi sibe netidoko sibe nemafutha sibe nalokuya ethunjini angeke ke sigcine namuhla sitawuta nje sitowufundzisa sifundzise batali sifundzise umango.
Mota encourage people with albinism to take care of themselves and live a healthy lifestyle. Member of Parliament Honorable Hobshiba says people with disabilities, including those with albinism, need support, and he further appreciates organizations like the Stuki Foundation for helping them.
Sijabule kakhulu nje lisipho lolungaka lalilethile kubo kutoba supporta kakhulu ngalama sunscreens ngoba adulile badala bakhona nje kuwathenga kulesinye isikhathi.
Shiba says the support they received will go a long way, and they are pleased that people with albinism will receive lessons on how to take care of themselves. Sipho Dlamini, who is one of the beneficiaries, expressed his gratitude. He further mentioned that they really needed assistance, as it is costly to take care of themselves. This assistance from the Stuki Foundation shows that the organization is committed to help people with albinism and encourages the communities to support them. Reporting, Nombendulo Shabalala, Nkaba.
Eswatini is playing a significant role in the fight against tuberculosis, with the encouraging results from a recent survey showing a decline in TB cases. According to the survey, there were 350 cases per 100,000 people, indicating that efforts are yielding results. The report, which was compared to a similar survey conducted from 2012 to 2014, is showing a decrease from over 1,000 cases per 100,000 people. Similo Simelane, the head of tuberculosis rollout in communities at the National Tuberculosis Control Program, attributes the progress to collaborative efforts in providing TB services in communities. Simelane made these remarks during a speech during the World TB Day celebrations under the theme, "Yes, we can end TB."
As a country, we've made major strides towards ending TB in the country. If you can reflect from the data around 2012, 2014, the stats were really high in terms of the incidence of TB in the country, whereby more than 1,000 per 100,000 had TB. Yet now, if you reflect, it is estimated that we are around 350 per 100,000. So those are great moves or great strides towards ending TB in the country. However, as you know that TB is an airborne disease, as long as we have people who are infected with TB, it still remains a challenge, or it still remains a threat that one way or the other we may all be infected. So we still need to continue reinforcing in the fight against TB. As a country, we have moved from just focusing on TB, on people who just present themselves because they are feeling ill, but now we have moved towards active case finding approach, whereby we actually now go to the community and screen people for TB. And the country has also adopted innovative ways in terms of detecting TB cases in the country, such as the use of chest X-ray, which is supported by AI. In that way, we are able to identify more TB cases, and then also programmatic-wise, we have also moved from using the long-term course for treatment, but now we're using the short-term. So those are the interventions or things that the country has done in terms of improving TB case finding, even treatment, and also even control.
In our international news, Russia fired almost 1,000 drones at Ukraine over the last 24 hours, unleashing one of its largest ever daytime attacks, killing at least 8 people and hitting the UNESCO-protected city center of Lviv. Officials said this on Tuesday.
This is the moment a UNESCO World Heritage Site was hit. Hundreds of kilometres from the front line, a church in Lviv's historic city centre went up in flames.
It's just absurd. It's just crazy. As a UNESCO site, the Bernardine Monastery is, without doubt, a very beautiful place. And the Shaheds are just heading right in the centre.
It was part of one of Russia's most brazen daytime attacks during the war. Ukraine's Air Force said it downed 541 drones out of 556 fired into the territory on Tuesday afternoon. Cities of Poltava, Kharkiv, Kherson and Dnipro were among those also targeted. This minibus driver was headed to a gas station on the outskirts of Sumy when he spotted a drone.
I saw it in front of me while I was driving the route. It's scary, of course.
But you're still driving?
Still driving.
Moscow claims the overnight strikes, which killed several people, were targeting military industrial complexes and airfields. While on the other side of the front line, Ukrainian drones headed for occupied Crimea, the border regions and even Moscow. On the diplomatic front, Washington's peace negotiations have been suspended since it went to war in the Middle East. Another meeting took place last weekend between Ukrainian and American envoys in an attempt to restart direct talks between Kyiv and Moscow. So far, they have not succeeded.
Iranian drone strikes battered Tel Aviv, damaging apartments and injuring several people. The attacks put into question whether Iran's military capabilities have truly been weakened by U.S.-Israeli attacks. It has been launching sporadic strikes to preserve its arsenal while letting its enemies' stockpile run out.
Following the strikes, residents emerged from bomb shelters. Israeli police said a warhead with about 100 kilograms of explosives caused the damage in central Tel Aviv on Tuesday, leaving buildings destroyed and locals in shock.
Yeah, we just got into the shelter. We was in the staircase, and then we just heard such a big boom. My ears was hurt, and then the whole shelter was shaking.
It's really not nice to live like this.
but this is the situation in Israel.
Despite the Israeli-U.S. attacks on Iranian infrastructure and over 3 weeks of war, the Islamic Republic has continued to hit back. These latest strikes come after the Israeli military failed to intercept 2 Iranian ballistic missiles that hit the southern towns of Ared and Dimona, near Israel's nuclear facility, injuring at least 180 on Saturday. This calls into question whether Iran's military capabilities have been reduced to the extent the U.S. and Israel have claimed. On Monday, the Times of Israel reported, the IDF says it has destroyed or disabled around 330 of Iran's estimated 470 ballistic missile launchers. A 2022 U.S. intelligence report said that Iran has the largest inventory of ballistic missiles in the region, with Israeli intelligence finding the total stood at 2,500 following June's 12-day war. Iran has been launching sporadic strategic strikes to preserve its arsenal while letting its enemy stockpiles run out. Still, the Islamic Republic's strongest tool remains its effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has been able to leverage this closure as the U.S. appears increasingly desperate.
Israel shows no signs of slowing down its military campaign in Lebanon. It has so far killed at least 1,039 people and has displaced more than 1 million in more than 3 weeks of fighting with the Iran-backed militant group, Hezbollah. Instead, Tel Aviv said on March 24 that its military will seize control of the area south of the Litani River. Hezbollah has vowed to fight back.
Israel's military intentions in southern Lebanon have been laid bare by Defense Minister Israel Katz.
Hundreds of thousands of residents of southern Lebanon who evacuated north will not return south of the Litani River until security is guaranteed for residents of the north. All 5 bridges over the Litani that Hezbollah used to transport terrorists and weapons have been blown up, and the IDF will control the remaining bridges and the security zone up to the Litani.
The key waterway meets the Mediterranean about 30 kilometres north of the border between Israel and Lebanon, and the demolished bridges have already isolated the area, which covers nearly 1/10 of Lebanon's territory. Such attacks on civilian infrastructure are generally prohibited under international law, but Katz maintains Tel Aviv is targeting Hezbollah.
The principle is clear. Where there is terror and missiles, there will be no homes and residents.
Israel has accused Beirut of not fulfilling its promise to disarm the militant group. In turn, Lebanon's president said Tuesday the war could have been avoided if Tel Aviv withdrew from occupied areas in the south and honoured the 2024 ceasefire deal. While his government has not yet prevented Hezbollah from coordinating strikes with Iran into Israel, it has declared the Iranian ambassador persona non grata, ordering them to leave Lebanon by Sunday, and effectively outlawed all military activity by both Hezbollah and the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. But for Israel, it appears too little too late to halt further ground incursions. Far-right Minister Bezalel Smotrich is even calling to totally annex the south.
The Litani River must be our new border with the state of Lebanon.
Hezbollah, for its part, says it will fight any move by Israel to occupy Lebanese territory, saying it would pose an existential threat to Lebanon as a state.
While U.S. President Donald Trump projects optimism that an end to the war with Iran can be negotiated very soon, Israel seems determined to keep up the fight. The possibility of the United States ending or even withdrawing from the conflict poses a significant risk to Israel's own goals.
The still smoldering aftermath of Iranian airstrikes on Tel Aviv Tuesday morning. Weeks into the conflict, the number of missiles launched at Israel was waning. But in recent days, they've started raining down again, casting doubts on just how destroyed Iran's ballistic missile program actually is. Now U.S. President Donald Trump is U-turning on the war, from escalating threats to negotiations with Tehran. After speaking with Trump, Israel's prime minister attempted to show unity while emphasizing the fight will go on.
President Trump believes there's a chance to leverage the tremendous achievements of the IDF and the U.S. military in order to realize the war's objectives in an agreement that will safeguard our vital interests. At the same time, we continue to strike both in Iran and in Lebanon.
Israel has been clear its goal is to bring down the Iranian regime, but U.S. war objectives continue to shift. from the destruction of the nuclear program to ballistic capabilities or even at one point regime change. Now faced with the possibility its American partner may want out of the conflict altogether, Israel is trying to convince the world the war isn't over.
We continue to attack Iran with all our might. Regarding Lebanon, Hezbollah made the grave mistake when it attacked Israel as a tool of the Iranian terrorist regime, and it is paying and will pay a heavy price.
Israel wants to avoid a repeat of the 12-day war in June 2025, which ended at the insistence of Donald Trump.
Our sports news, the captain of Manzini Wanderers, Mlamuli Nkambule, widely known as Mlaba, has passed away. His passing was confirmed by Manzini Wanderers through a statement that was issued to the media.
Early this morning, the football fraternity woke up to heartbreaking news of the passing of Mlamuli Mlaba Nkambule, who was the captain of Manzini Wanderers. His club, Manzini Wanderers, confirmed the news on their Facebook page, stating that they are still in communication with his family. Members of the football community, upon hearing the news, expressed deep shock and sadness and sent their condolences to the Nkambule family, the Manzini Wanderers family, and the football supporters at large. This includes Eswatini Football Association President and Premier League of Eswatini Chief Executive Officer.
Cela nje ukuthi at least uNkulunkulu le family yakhe ibabophe emanxeba siba sebholeni vele lokhu kuyasidisturba and kuyasiphazamisa because ngilo lenyejaha lebesigatsile lokuthi uyasida ekuthuthukiseni libhola lalakithi
utsinzile inhliziyo yabantu abaningi ngekudlalela emacembu lamakhulu ngekwehlukana wawo lelive lokho bekukhombisa kona ukuthi kude licembu lebelingamfuni ukuthi atolidlalela kulesigaba labesakuso noma kumbe bokungambuka wena ukuthi sowudlalile kumbe ngekubuka kweminyaka yekutalwa ungasho ukuthi iminyaka yakhe seyithasalwa phumula kodwa ukhombisile luthando ikakhulu kade kulo licembu layo iManzini Wanderers.
Nkambule passes away while serving as the captain of Manzini Wanderers. He also had playing stints with Denver Sundowns and Umbelebele Joma Cosmos. Reporting, I'm Linda Dlamini, Babane.
All right, that is how we end our news in English, and we'll go for a break now. We'll speak to Mlamuli Nkambule from the ENTC, their Monuments Officer, regarding the Kabane Explorers Walk. Stay with us.
To all the viewers of Eswatini TV in the kingdom and beyond. Eswatini TV is regulated by the Eswatini Communications Commission through the Broadcasting Code and Broadcasting Guidelines. Under these instruments, the station commits to broadcasting information and news that have been fact-checked, programs and content in respectful language with no elements of hate speech, violence or sexual activity. If you hear any unsuitable content on this channel, you have a right to voice your complaints with the station management. Should you not be satisfied with the response or action taken, you can escalate your matter to the Communications Commission at PO Box 7811 Babani. call 2406 7000 or send an email to info@esccom.org.za. For more information, visit www.esccom.org.za.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhiqiza lokusemndeni.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Right, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. There is something really powerful about standing inside a space that has outlived generations and generations, a place where history is not written in books, but that is etched into the landscape itself. Earlier this week, we saw the launch of the Kabane Cave Explorer Walk at Mlaula Nature Reserve, officiated by King Mswati III, and that's signaling a very, very improvement within our tourism industry in Eswatini. But beyond it is more than just a tourism product, but representing a careful balance between preservation and access. Heritage sites in the Kingdom of Eswatini, we have seen them being positioned as attractions, but also custodians of identity, custodians of memory, as well as meaning. And once you open them up to the public, the question it's beyond visibility, but it's about responsibility. How do you invite the world without eroding the very essence of what makes these spaces sacred? How do you tell the story in a way that is both authentic as well as protected? This morning we are joined by a monuments officer to help us understand the deeper significance of the Kabane development and what it really means for the conservation as well as economic development of the Kingdom of Eswatini. Thank you so much for your time, Sutu. We appreciate. Also, congratulations. It must have been quite the moment having His Majesty the King
very excited.
Open the cave. Yeah, speak to me about that.
We're still very excited and we still can't believe. Actually, His Majesty has always wanted to visit the cave. So after the Hlane Bukanu second leg, he'll always say, I want to go there and see what is happening up there. But then you find that he's busy, the time, you know. So this year, we are so excited when he finally said, I want to see what is in the cave.
And I suppose that also bought you some time to really position it in a way that is fit for His Majesty, and certainly after his launch, fit for even tourists, for Emaswati, domestic tourism and international tourism. But what is the historical and cultural significance of the Kabane Cave, and why does it matter that it's preserved?
Kabane Cave is very rich in history of the kingdom because it linked to the migration history of Emaswati. Emaswati came through the east, and Kabane, you see that is strategically positioned in the east within the Mlawola Nature Reserve. So you'll know that Emaswati during the migration history, they used caves mostly as hideouts, as places of residence, where they will circle while they are migrating. So Kabane is one of those. But then there's something that we didn't know, because in the 1980s, we had archaeological excavations in Kabane by David Price William, and he claimed that there's nothing in Kabane. So we thought Kabane was just an empty rocky cave, only to find that there's very, very rich history that is underground.
Wow.
So last year we had the German Archaeological Institute. We have an MOU with them. They assist us with the archaeology of the kingdom, because they have the know-how and they also have equipment to date and also present sites archaeologically. So with that partnership that we had, we invited them to Kabane and they excavated. And one thing that struck us was that from the pit that they excavated, the excavation pit, we found a stump of cigarette to show that Price Williams had indeed excavated.
Yeah.
I think you'll know that archaeologists, when you excavate a site, you have to leave something to show the other person coming that some work has already been done.
Yeah.
So that showed us, it was so exciting to see that he left that stump, cigarette stump, to show that he excavated.
Wow.
But then, when going through the excavation pit, there were lots of archaeological material lying there. And we don't know whether it was technology of the time that made him to say it's an empty rock surface, because there are so many archaeological objects that were found in Kabane. So now with the assistance of the German Archaeological Institute, we are trying to date them so that we come with exact dates. We have layers, and some of the layers we have seeds from the marula nuts to show that it was used. You know, marula nuts are a source of protein.
Yeah.
So in case wildlife was not available at that time, they will depend on that for protein. We have klipspringer pools. You know a klipspringer, it likes rocky places like Malolocha, but it shows that we had it. So it tells us now a lot of things.
Yeah.
So we still have to add, it's so beautiful and so interesting, because now we are going to learn more about the history of Eswatini.
Yeah.
You know, our history was mostly written by Europeans, and we still have the gaps that needs to be filled. And the good thing now is that we are going to fill those gaps from an evidence point of view, because now we have the evidence from Kabane.
Yeah.
It's not going to answer questions about Kabane, but about the whole history of Eswatini. We will use the evidence that we find there. So it's very interesting. It tells the history, the migration history. It played a role. And besides, before Mlaula there was a community living there. So they also relate to the site.
Absolutely.
And as ENTC, we engage them, we don't leave them behind. For instance, when we're developing the walking trails, the community was involved, because they were going up there and they will know which routes are accessible if you want to visit the cave. So we use the community. And also in identifying some of the species. From some of the finds, like the poos, the community will easily identify, oh, these are poos from this animal. So it's so interesting. So now it has brought the whole community, I will say, of the Lowveld.
Yeah.
And it's going to spread all over the country now. Yeah.
It's amazing what is happening down there at the Lowveld. Of course, we saw the official launch of the Hlane Hotel. There's a reptile park and a Kabane cave.
Things are happening in the Lowveld.
Yeah, a lot of things are happening. And for me, this is the most fascinating one, of course, without isolating it from, the importance of the other ones. But this one is truly fascinating. Personally, for me, I'm a big fan of history, and the fact that you're speaking on archaeology and some of the remnants that are now sort of defining what happened then, and it also informing what should happen going forward. I do want to ask you, is this now open to the public? And also, as soon as it is officially launched to the public, what are now let's say, the immediate risks from a preservation point of view?
Now it's officially opened to the public with the launch by His Majesty, which was excited, like I said. And when we talk about a risk, now we have developed a walking trail very good making it accessible, the cave accessible to the public. So the risks now are minimal because we have the trail, we have staircases, we have barriers. People can actually hold on the rails going up, unlike before. Before it was a raw trail. You just find a tree and grab, you know, climbing up.
Sounds dangerous.
But yeah, it was, I should say. But now it's safe. And we are expecting people to join us.
Done by experts, you know.
It's done by experts. The government funded us for that one.
Right.
So it's done by experts. And maybe the reason why we opened it before we even have a safer trail was that the demand from the public. People just love Kabane. They want to see Kabane. So the whole risk going up, and they were excited. And fortunately, we never had casualties, people going up before we had the formal working trails that we have now. So now we have a beautiful walking trail with rails, and people can actually hold on the rails and climb up and take their time going up.
Yeah.
So June, we will be having our Kabane cave walk, and we are inviting the public to join us.
How do you plan to strike the important, very important balance between making heritage accessible as well as ensuring that it is not now compromised by foot traffic?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Yeah. I'll make maybe an example for you to understand it. I'll make an example of your house at home. If you have your house at home and you are not using it, chances are it's going to be dilapidated.
Yeah, like
so
a
the
car,
best,
like a house, yeah.
So the best way is to use it. So that's what we say with monuments. If you want the monument to last longer, reuse that monument. For instance, this building, if it was a monument and then you use it as a studio, or maybe use it for broadcasting, then it would last longer than leaving it and you say, no, it's a monument, don't touch it. So same with Kabane. So the use of Kabane, because with each year's work, it shows that which areas to fill, which areas to improve, which areas to develop, to make sure that it's not it's not dilapidated.
Of course.
Yes.
I'm just fascinated by the courtesy visuals that our production team has been quick to, to play on the screens, and just seeing the smiles on His Majesty the King. You can see that the fascination that you are speaking about, which I believe is also now going to translate into the overall public. I believe some of the board members of the ENTC there, if I want you to confirm that, just take us through some of
The
these
minister was
visuals.
also there, the board, the exco.
See Prince Kashula is a board member there. I see the Minister for Tourism. I see the CEO.
Yes,
for
the
ENTC.
CEO, and he's very fit.
Yeah. How much energy does the walk require? Because I was looking at some of the photos, and His Majesty's shirt was drenched in sweat, and certainly some of the people there's shirts were drenched in sweat.
Yeah, I was doing my research on the name Kabane. I got different explanation. One being says it's a Soto word which means greatness or strength.
Wow.
But from one Swazi man, he said Kabane, it shows the difficult situation that it's going to show you flames.
Oh, wow.
Like kutakaba.
Yeah.
So it's going to show you flames. So that's what Kabane is.
That's
it
beautiful.
shows you flames.
Yeah.
So when you climb that mountain, it taxes.
Yeah.
You have to be fit. So it shows how fit is His Majesty.
Oh, 100%.
If he can make it up there.
No doubt. And of course, to his words at the Ngonyama Cup Gala dinner last year, he did say that, speaking to that he is into fitness as well as encouraging a Maswati to get into fitness. And
that was proof.
This is a perfect case study for that. But I think for many of us, Emabut, who walk with him, my Mishuko and all of that, and the cultural dances, we know that requires a lot of resilience and a lot of strength. So certainly that group of people is not shocked, but to learn about Kabane and the strength that it requires, and him conquering that alongside everyone else that was there, is also beautiful. And I suppose that is a beautiful call to people who are adventurous to say, here's another monument that now tests your physical strength, because some people love that. People will hike and all of that.
We already have people who are into adventure, like the Juluka Hiking Club.
Sure.
They always take part in the Kabane Walk. And other clubs, maybe I may not mention here, just Juluka was on top of my head.
Yeah.
They take part and they enjoy Kabane because even before, we package Kabane into three. We have a 21-kilometer walk. We have a 12-kilometer, and we have a 3-kilometer for those who just want to start at the bottom. But I tell you, even those who want to start at the bottom of the mountain, when they come up from there, they will tell you a different story.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say that these are 3 kilometers because the hike is 3 kilometers. So you'll think because you did 3 kilometers, you must be better than the, no.
Yeah.
The 3 kilometers going up there and coming down. It's something else. So, Yakaban.
Yeah. the launch by His Majesty the King, it's not lost in me that it elevates the importance of this cave. And, you know, I look at my family and I look at some of the things that are passed from generation to generation. I know that we have a wall unit at home with some of my father's very important souvenirs and objects that were owned by my grandfather and my grandfather's father. And those, you know, we protect. Does this then speak to that, because the king is the father of our nation here in Eswatini, to now elevating the importance as well as how we continue to preserve this cave?
You know, His Majesty is a champion of heritage conservation. He's into, I think that's why even in our constitution, he spelled it out in black and white, the importance of heritage, both natural and cultural heritage conservation, its importance. So being a father of the kingdom and a leader and a father, the ENTC is also under his, it's one of the mandates that we have to preserve and conserve cultural and natural heritage.
Yes.
And on behalf, in trust of Eswatini or the Swazi nation, whose leader is the Ingwenyama in our case. So as a leader, he had to make that mark. And now we are sure that people will want to visit Kabane, to conquer Kabane, because His Majesty has conquered Kabane. So we are hoping that people will be like, I want also to conquer Kabane, to follow on the footsteps of His Majesty.
Yeah. What would you say, and I know you've hinted on it a little bit on your very first answer, from a monuments and heritage perspective, what essentially makes Kabane different from other sites that we have in Eswatini?
Kabane contains this very rich history that we are still exploring, because we have taken the finds from this site, and samples are taken for dating. So we are hoping to get dates. But for now, what we have is, when you look at the stone tools that we found, they date around 3.5 thousand years ago. And I think you'll relate to that, because the Egyptian...
I'm not a fossil. What do you mean I'm joking?
The Egyptian pyramids. I thought you'll know about the Egyptian pyramids. So to give people a picture, people know about the pyramids.
Yes.
So they're almost the same age. So it shows how old and rich Kabane is. But then we are looking at Kabane to be a model of other similar sites. We have other beautiful sites like Lungundu. There's Lungundu caves in the Lubombo region. We also have Kubuta caves in the southern region, in the Kusile region. So we are now going to use Kabane as a model for these other caves. And the community, they also want to develop these caves and open them up for tourism. So now with the launch that His Majesty has done for our Kabane, so to us it's a breakthrough, even for the other sites, like the ones I've just mentioned. It's not only the two Lungundu and Kubuta, but we have several cave sites. It's just that this one are so big and huge, almost closer to the size of Kabane.
Yeah, and I suppose it makes the story even more beautiful, the reality that like you said, we are still exploring Kabane. It is still being unearthed and being uncovered. More magic awaits Kabane, and I suppose that mystery makes it even more beautiful for tourists and for people who are into that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and it's not only going to attract tourists, but even researchers as well. People who just want to know more, because now we are focused on archaeology. But as we unearth it, you find that we have scientists who want to do scientific research. So a lot of research making it more important. So now we've only hit the tip of an iceberg. Otherwise, we show more mysteries are going to emerge and making it more important.
Let's talk about this interesting tension that is often there, between development and preservation. And I suppose as a monuments officer, you relate to this very well. In the case of the Kabane Explorer Walk, where were the key pressure points for you guys in that process?
I'll say maybe at the top, because we were not sure what's exactly in there. So we had to ask people to be conscious. And being a natural reserve, you don't need to find yourself poaching, whether it's a plant species, whether it's an animal or an object on the ground, an archaeological object, a simple stone. To a layman, you'll see a stone as a stone, but maybe for me as an archaeologist, I'll see it as a tool. So we were very clear to say, as we walk along the Kabane Trail, we only focus on the trail, but we don't pick anything. And in case you see something that you think it's important and you are not sure of, we have rangers all along the way that will help you identify whether it's an animal species you want to, even snakes. In case you come across snakes, we don't kill them. Those are part of our heritage.
Yeah, people always say.
So actually, the whole the whole trail is so beautiful and tells a story as you go along.
On the topic of it tells a story as you explore it, the importance of storytelling, I want you to emphasize on that importance, but also who gets to tell this story? You did mention that, this will be open to research and I suppose not only local research, even foreign researchers are going to come here. Who gets to tell this story and how important is that?
It depends what story you want, but we listen to all the stories. First, the important stories are the community stories. The community will tell more stories, accurate stories, because some of the funds, you only interpret them. You find something and then you interpret that this is a marula nut. The people might have eaten the marula seed as a source of protein. But if you have the people who have descendants, who are descendants of those who are living there, to say that, okay, this is actually this. So that is another story that enhances your research.
Your research, absolutely.
Yes. So we don't leave behind the local communities, especially those who once lived there or who are descendants of the people who lived around Kabane.
Absolutely.
So those stories are, and also similar sites in the region, because Kabane doesn't exist in isolation. There are other similar sites in the region, in the Southern African region, that links. You find that a tool that you found a piece here, you can find a broken piece of a stone tool in Kabane, and the other piece in Sibudu Cave in South Africa. And you connect the history. That's why I said when at the beginning, it will help us to fill even the gaps in our history, because we'll find the linkages between us, Eswatini, and the people in Sibudu, for instance. Why our piece is in Sibudu and the other one is in Kabane. So when we match those pieces, we get a good history.
And I want to suppose that ENTC has measures in place to make sure that those stories are not just told willy-nilly after research has been done, that you do own the rights, for lack of a better term, to have those stories then now told in a comprehensive way, without a way that misleads people about the Kingdom of Eswatini, to sort of protect our sovereignty and our own stories. Yeah, I want you to speak to that.
No, yeah, they always say history is biased.
Yeah.
Those are the stages of history. At one point, it was telling the history of the great men. Then it changed to tell the story of women. Then, I know from which point you are coming from.
Yeah.
We've looked into that. I think you made a very good example when you said the stories should be balanced.
Yeah.
They should be based on research. They should be based on what the communities are saying, who have lived there or have descendants or are descendants of the people who are living there. So we should have a balance. Yeah. It should be. And the good thing now is that most things are scientifically proven now. We don't just assume, but they have to be taken into laboratories. That's why we took samples from Kabane. We took samples to Germany, so they're testing. So they'll be coming with the results when they come back soon. So the stories then will be balanced because they'll be scientifically proven as well.
I like
apart
that.
From the research.
I'm looking at our time. We have just about under a minute to wrap up our conversation. I want you to speak to the people at home, the people from outside of Eswatini, anyone really who may have interest, or perhaps someone who may say, I'm not really interested. I want to see if you can convince them to see if they can have a little bit of interest. Talk to them. It's officially launched now. Yes,
Kabane is now officially launched, and I'm inviting the public to join us in June for the Kabane Cave Walk, Explorer Walk. So if you come for that walk, you can either choose to camp overnight, you sleep over, so that you wake up early in the morning while it's still cool, and you take the challenge. And you see if Kabane ngeka khabe. And I hope most of Maswati will conquer it. So I'm inviting hiking clubs in their numbers, individuals, corporates, and special thanks to those who support us annually. We have corporates who support us and individuals who support us annually in the Kabane Cave Walk. So to join us even this year.
Yeah. And it's just a little, I suppose the last bit would be there has been some job opportunities that have been opened throughout this whole process, so people have been hired. Correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Tema Ngambule, Monuments Officer at the ENTC, which is exploring Kabane, no pun intended there, and what it means really for heritage conservation in the Kingdom of Eswatini in a tourism-driven future in Eswatini. Thank you so much for staying with us here on Kusile Breakfast Show. This has been the Wednesday edition. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.